I know there was some delays. We got Andrew here versus Coach Greg Adams, aka the Free Agent Lifestyle. We're going to talk about today, is marriage worth it for men in the West? So let's get into some opening statements. Who wants to start off?
Yeah, man, marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community of America. Most of the better communities that have safety, good children, good schools are typically centered around marriage. However, marriage has not progressed to the point where men could be safe legally, and a lot of men have experienced tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result, and it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws are not positioned to benefit both people in a divorce. Therefore, you have no fault divorce. You have opportunities for women to use the courts against men. And as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for a positive marriage. So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them, and they were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on divorce, 100%.
Stream over.
And
I guess we agree.
but it's a good thing that the topic isn't on divorce; it's on marriage. And it seems like you agree with my proposition then. And the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution.
Yep.
And that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that's not actually what you're saying. You're not saying men can't be safe in marriage; they can. You're saying that they may not be safe in divorce. So I have a counter proposition for you. My counter proposition is, what if it's the case that you can use religious marriage institutions without the state? And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. That's what always kept them together anyway, before the state was ever involved. So what if instead we use the ecclesiastical church, the structure of the old churches, that would be Catholicism and Orthodoxy, where you see the lowest divorce rates, because the community puts pressure on the women to act right. That's what they do. Right now, the state applies no pressure on women to act right? You can just go and file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It seems like you're completely pro-marriage. You're just anti-divorce. So why wouldn't you just throw your weight behind institutions where the divorce rate is the least, and you have an ecclesiastical structure which can be appealed to assist with that? That's what makes no sense to me.
My response to that is, if we're fifths, we beat all drunk. All right. So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you
in
explain the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
we
it
do
would
have
work
it right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why, because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state, or she filed in a certain state, so therefore the divorce goes on.
No,
Absolutely,
okay.
yes.
Well,
Listen, I've been to with the divorce attorneys, and what they'll tell you is, hey, listen, you can get married in the ritual, you can get married in the orthodoxy, you can get married off record, but if she files and that woman is hell bent on saying, we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare, that's considered a marriage. You also have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish marriage.
How does
And
your way eliminate common law?
I don't have any way to eliminate common law.
So
what
then-
I have is a way for men to avoid
Well, then the
being
argument's
used.
silly.
No, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't looking to be under a religious orthodoxy. So it doesn't apply. So you're taking a moral standard or a religious standard to apply to people who aren't under that veil.
So let's start with a couple of things you said which are fundamentally untrue. Most men are religious, in fact, including in this country. Most of them, not some of them.
But they're not religious.
Hang on. I didn't interrupt. I didn't interrupt.
I understand, but maybe just take that point. Most aren't under your religion.
Okay.
We can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though. But Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly. And if it's the case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate with a woman, the thing that you're offering right now is common law marriage anyway, if there's cohabitation at all. You're not protecting anybody from that. At least under my model, it gives an ecclesiastical structure that's designed to prevent divorce by applying community pressure. That was the way it was always done. Apply the application of community pressure within the confines of the woman's social circle. Right now, do you agree with me, for instance, that many divorces happen because women like to yap? So you get a freshly divorced woman, and she's free. You go, girl. Girl power. And she starts talking to her little friends, and she starts telling them how liberating it is and how great it is and this and that. And this is why when women have divorced friends, their likelihood of divorce actually rapidly increases. It's for this reason.
Divorce is contagious.
So if it's the case that this social contagion is eliminated because now we have an ecclesiastical structure, an ecclesiastical authority, which won't grant it because you get ostracized from that social group through excommunication, for instance, or not being able to participate anymore with that community, that's an application of a serious and significant social pressure, which can do the very thing you want. Bring back that great institution, absent the state, and it avoids this whole problem of common law marriage. Because if it's the case that you can be common law married anyway inside of a state, and they can get grounds for divorce on that anyway, then we actually need to have some social pressures to prevent them from doing that. So it sounds like we agree marriage is awesome for men. Divorce is terrible for them. So it seems like we should be attacking the divorce structure here, and it doesn't seem like you actually have anything to do that other than just avoid the thing that's great for you because this other bad side effect could happen.
Sure, that's
so
like smoking cigarettes.
So why don't we attack the bad side effect when we have the mechanism to do it? It's not if, we can do it now.
Okay,
right
so like smoking cigarettes is the same analogy you're saying. Okay, here, cigarettes in this situation, we obviously know it has negative side effects, so you would avoid it. Now, here's the issue that I have with it. It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the land of make-believe. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make-believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage work for you. It might work in your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
Your argument here contradicts itself because on the one hand, you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage?
Absolutely.
Okay, well then, I don't understand how it's the land of make-believe if you can let them know about this, but I can't?
Sure.
Right,
and
so
you can offer that.
So if
You
I
can offer
am,
that.
it sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering, and here's what you're offering. Men, marriage is great. It's a great institution. It's the best for children. These are your words. In marriage, right, men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic, too. For instance, if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Correct.
Okay? Way worse. And also socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved. And it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
You said if about 50 times
So did
today.
you.
Now, here's what I'm telling you.
So
I'm
did
telling you
you.
when, all right? We're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue
What
against.
system are you going outside of?
We're talking about marriage is typically done with the state. Almost everyone does it this way.
Typically
so now
is
you're
not-
hold
is
on for a
not
second. Hold on for a
must.
second. You've
Typically
moved the
doesn't mean
goalposts.
anything.
You've moved the goalposts to a scenario of if, and you're arguing from the if. No,
Is.
hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
It is perspective.
No, listen.
It is
Give
the
me a
is
chance to
perspective.
listen.
All right,
give
I'll
me a
give you
chance.
Go ahead.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make-believe. Most people, by far, are married to the state. Not only that, your land of make-believe still exists. The prenup with the ecclesiastics, you can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters in the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still dealing in reality.
So
You're
am
in
I.
the clouds. Hold on for a second. You're in the
Okay.
clouds. So let's take the demographics.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No, it's with
Hold
all
on for a
people.
second. You said with black people, the demographics, the chance is higher.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, economics, which all do affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds or the make-believe with ecclesiastics. It's all going to boil down to in the law. And there's no church reverend that's going to go into your household to make sure there's social pressure on your wife. Do you know
yes,
any?
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any that can cover all marriages? That
Yes.
answer is no.
Yes. And by the way, when you keep
Are we in reality here?
I'm
or are we in
trying-
the clouds?
when
I mean,
you're-
we're
when
not
you're-
we're not arguing
I was
anything
just trying-
legitimate.
I was just
this
trying
is
to-
this is in the land of make believe.
Well, when
We
I'm
don't have
allowed to
enough-
respond, let me
Okay,
know.
give me a second.
Go
Let
ahead.
me finish this point.
Go ahead.
You're imagining. Your imagination is great. John Lennon would be great. You know, you would be proud of you at this particular point.
But I'm imagining all the people.
You're imagining all the people under a situation and a structure that you brought in here, all right? But the state highly governs this, and the state highly governs divorce. I'm dealing in a reality situation where I'm trying to counsel men to give information to. The best thing you've told me is that you're willing to give men the option to do this. Are they willing to all do this option? The answer is probably not, just like they're not willing to do what I'm telling them to do. However, we're both attempting, which is a good thing. It's noble. However, your situation rarely exists. Can we talk about the reality of what exists?
Sure.
Absolutely. So let's take your moral religious crusade out of it and talk about the reality.
Yeah, let's
Are you
not.
willing to do that?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
See, you're not willing to do that
Well,
because it's all based on your reality.
Guess what? It's a debate, and I will argue my points from my view, how I see fit. It's not for you to govern.
But what I'm not going to do is expect
not
to
my
be arguing
government.
from the land of make believe.
Yeah, but it's
okay.
not- you
All
don't-
right. So
okay, yeah,
anybody
my
have
turn, my turn,
Anybody
relax.
have anybody have the sound effect for the television show where the train comes through, Mr. Rogers?
Let me know when
because
you-
I want to be on
let me
the,
know
I
when you
want to be
gas
on
out.
Earth.
Yeah, let me know
All
when
right.
you gas
Let's
out.
let Andrew respond.
Yeah, so the thing is it's funny that you bring up Imagine All the People with John Lennon, which is an anti-religious song. And hilariously enough, was designed to assist with female empowerment. Isn't that hilarious? But the thing here is you keep on saying that what I'm offering is make-believe, but it's not. It's been governing the Orthodox and Catholic Church for 2,000 years, including in this country. Now, here, let me give you an example, for instance, the Amish, right? Do you know what the divorce rate is among them? It's almost non-existent, yet they're still governed by the same laws of the land that you're speaking to. So sounds like if I give a counter, if I say, look, I can give you a way, a methodology, in which you can utilize the religious ecclesiastical institution which has existed for 2,000 years and has right now the lowest divorce rates, right this second as we speak, not in make-believe land, not hundreds of years in the future, right this second, as opposed to the system you have of common law divorce, which is sky high and you can't do anything about it. That's what is true. So pointing out what is true is right now you can have a prenup. That is true. What is true is prenups are usually held up in court. That is true. What is true is that you can have a marriage outside of a state because it's a religious institution anyway. You never have to have a license with the state. It's never been necessary. And if you do, the only way that that can be done is if it's sacramental. And if it's sacramental, it's governed now by the church. That's going to be the community the women are a part of. And so the thing is like, that sounds like a real viable solution. What's yours? More fucking degeneracy? Go out and play the field, hump a lot of chicks? How's that going to help anybody do anything? That's been the progressive mantra for 100 years. Isn't it wonderful? Your turn.
All right, we're turning back to Earth. Now, first things first, when it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So, Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. At this particular point, when you go through a marriage, if one person decides to not obey the Holy Bible or whatever you're thumping, you have no basis to keep that marriage together. If she decides to leave the church and decides not to listen or excommunicate herself, she's now under the state.
Agree.
Now, when you're getting divorced, which I'm assuming you've been divorced,
Well, I mean, that's a hell of an assumption to make.
Have you been divorced?
Well, I mean,
have you been married?
Can you tell me, if you can tell me how that has any merit?
Give me a second, because if you've been through one, you would know that there's no God in the divorce court, in the family court. There's no God in there. No one asked you.
There is the state in there.
There is the state. So that's what we're arguing from.
Yeah,
that's when you get married. So you're telling me if, and I'm telling you, well, this is what's going to happen. Even if you took Sky Daddy into court with you, they would say, you pray to the judge. The judge is the authority in the court. So the God argument is a nice, interesting argument. And I probably am not going to stay on the conversation very long, because that's your God. That's your Sky Daddy. That's your religion. I have a different religion. So who gives you who gives you the authority to change the understanding, the conversation to your religion? That's your religion.
I'm not changing the conversation.
Okay, so it only works if it only works if you believe in your Sky Daddy. That's the only way it works, and that's the only way you're going to advise men.
We're talking about mitigating risk.
No. We're talking about, can men get into a marriage today only under your Sky Daddy? That's what we're assuming.
Okay.
Now, can they do it otherwise?
Yeah, you can have secular marriage.
Okay, go ahead and explain.
Okay, yeah,
Make it work.
I just did. So
make it work.
The argument that you have is that marriage is great. It's a great institution.
We already covered this.
Well, what made it great?
We already covered
What
this.
made it great?
Can we go into why it would make it work for your secular? That's the question I ask you. You're asking me questions back. Go ahead and and answer the question.
So if you're talking about secular marriage, there's never been any point to it.
I'm sorry?
There's never been any point to secular marriage, ever. Never. What would ever be the point of secular marriage? If it's always been a religious institution, that's what made it great. Now, when you say it's a great institution, what made it great for secularists, other than the fact that Sky Daddy and God had all these enforcement arms, and those things had to be enforced socially? Like, for instance, men weren't allowed to run away. And women, right, they had to show cause for these divorces. And they had to be good causes. They had to show it for things like infidelity, right? It was all biblically governed. It was all lawfully governed by this Sky Daddy guy you like so little. But that's what made the institution great in the first place. And what you're talking about here, you're making a point that divorce is bad. And yet, I agree, divorce is bad. So what we're really talking about is, how do we mitigate the risk for divorce? And we have two different methods here.
Well, the conversation is marriage good for men. That's the conversation.
But it is. We already said it's good for men. That's not even in dispute.
And now, how do we make it better, since they're avoiding it? Since men or women are avoiding it.
It sounds like the thing that you think makes it bad is divorce, not marriage.
Correct.
Then listen, we need to mitigate divorce.
We're 15 minutes in, and we are in the land of reality. You finally called up. Can you tell me how we can get to the secular marriage? I mean, I've given you a chance. So you're dragging your feet.
So again, secular, there's never been any point to secular marriage, ever.
Now listen, marriage is for child creation. It would be great for child community and all of these things. And now listen, by the time the religious aspects got into marriage, they were chopping people's heads off and burning Bibles. So listen, I know we want to take it back to the past and act like the past was better, but there's always a negative part of the past. If you go back and you look at the English, this has all been there. People were getting their heads chopped off. The Crusaders were doing their things across countries, and they were spreading Christianity through threats and violence.
What does that have to do with anything?
Now, that's what you're trying to uplift. That's what you're trying to uphold.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
You wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
That's where you're lacking.
I have no idea.
So catch up. You're sitting across from me.
What does the Crusades have to do with divorce?
That was when your holy marriage was the best marriage that you're trying to go to. Now, listen.
In the 1950s? Were we crusading in the 1950s?
No.
What the hell are you talking about?
You talked about the institution of marriage for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Sir, do you need me to catch you up on what you're talking about? You're having trouble keeping up with me.
Do you know what
you're having trouble keeping up with me. You said 2,000 years ago.
Truly,
and I told you 2,000 years ago, they were chopping people's heads off.
Which has what to do with anything?
I need you to catch up with me, sir.
Okay.
If you want to take things back to the past, you have to accept everything as the past. You can't just cherry pick. Now, here's the thing. You're cherry picking. If you want to take things back to tradition, take it all the way back. Why stop at the 50s? Take it back to the 1890s.
What you're saying right now is so incoherent. I actually don't even understand it.
Well, that's what, listen. When you're running out of bullets, the last thing you do is the shame. All right, listen,
I'm not even trying to shame you. It's just incoherent.
I need you to catch up with me.
Okay, catch me up.
Just say you're lacking if you can't keep it up.
It's
all right,
incoherent.
Now here's the problem.
It's incoherent.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem you're having.
2,000 years ago, they were chopping heads off. Who gives a shit?
Listen,
what does that have to do with anything?
You said 2,000 years ago. I'm coming up with yours. Your holy religious 2,000 years ago. It's been a part of the institution.
What does that have to do with this?
Exactly. Here's the problem. You're cherry picking.
Cherry picking what?
Listen.
I'm listening.
I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to
Slow
slow
me
you
way
down because
down.
I see what you're doing here. I'm going to slow you down.
Okay.
Because it's hard for you to keep up.
It is. You're
I
right.
understand.
I
I
am-
understand because you
I
haven't
am
been across. This is your
bedazzled.
toughest debate. Your audience knows this.
Oh, it's rough.
There's no God in marriage
Okay.
in the United States.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that? When you get to divorce, there's no God in
we
marriage.
can't agree to that.
We need to agree to it because when you go into divorce court,
Yeah.
there's no God.
Yeah,
you
but
can't bring in your God
thought-
and your Bible. And at that particular point, none of your ecclesiastics marriage works.
Okay.
Period.
So the thing is, you just said, can we agree that there's no God in marriage? And then
You don't have to agree.
But hang on, calm down. And then you switched over to divorce. There's no God in divorce. But those are two different questions and proposition. Hang on, relax. The second thing is that me saying that what made marriage a great institution is this whole Sky Daddy character, and that the institution has been in place for 2,000 years, and it's
we
been,
go,
hang on,
2,000
calm down.
2,000
And it's been a
years.
strong institution. I'm not actually sure how tying in that at the time they cut people's heads off, what that has to do with the fact that in the 1950s and 40s, you still had 95% of these marriages staying together. This is not ancient history. This is not even early American history. Hang on, that's in your grandfather's lifetime, basically. And this, by the way, that was the case for black marriages as well. Very strong institutions. But all of those institutions were that way because they followed that whole Sky Daddy thing. They were like, oh, that Sky Daddy's going to smite us if we don't. And so what you do here is you're giving the classic progressive argument, which is, well, you know, guys, it is true that it's a great institution, and it is true it's the best place in the world to have children for the continuation of the species. And also, it's fantastic for men's health. It's fantastic for their mental health. It's great for them in almost every way. But that divorce thing is real bad. And I counter. You're right. That divorce thing is real bad. We have now a center of agreement. But now we're going back to the marriage in the West thing, which is that whole great institution problem. Well, if we agree that what made it good, which you just did, is, hey, that Sky Daddy guy, and then I point out that right now you can still utilize that Sky Daddy guy for an ecclesiastical marriage outside of the state. Hang on. And the only thing you could do is say, well, what about common law? But you can't govern anybody from common law. And at least in the ecclesiastical institution, you have social pressures on women to stay married. You can't offer a man anything like that. Give me a single social pressure you can offer that would actually keep these marriages together. One. What? One. Just one.
Can I answer something
Yeah.
you just said? This would be interesting.
I
because
can't wait.
You said
but can you answer that question then ask?
No, before.
Oh, of
the
course.
1940s.
Of course, you gotta ask me a question.
Because
before you
listen,
answer
I'm
mine.
listening. I'm listening to you. You asked the question at the end. If you would have asked it at the beginning, possibly I might have been able to address it. But let me address this point.
Okay.
You said the 1940s and 1950s with this imaginary Sky Daddy controlling marriages. That sounds like enforcement. Because by the time the
Doesn't it?
1970s came around, the very first chance women got to file a no-fault divorce without need for evidence, without need to have a private investigator to prove an affair.
Was no fault the 70s?
Yes, it was the 70s, started by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'll educate you.
But hang on.
Came along. Hold on for a second. No.
Yeah.
I got the
Go
floor
ahead.
here. I got the floor. So you said the religious institutions governed it and made it great. The 1970s came along, and soon as they did,
Feminism.
women started to file divorces at record rates, which is back to my conversation. Soon as you remove the authority of Sky Daddy, now you're back with the state. And now you have difficulty, and now the risk is now greater.
Oh.
So that's the issue that
Then
you
it
have.
sounds like men should be moving towards Sky Daddy then, because it mitigates their risk.
The courts, the nation should be
There's
moving
no
towards
courts.
that. But how do you enforce that?
What court? What courts?
your
You're
land is
not
in-
getting a marriage from the state. What courts are involved here?
Everything you told me is a make-believe scenario.
How? You can
You're
do it right
telling-
now. How is it make believe?
How do you do that when people,
Here's
the
what you
marriages
do.
through state?
Yeah.
I know. You want to go
I'll
back
tell
to
you how.
ecclesiastics. This
No,
is
I'm
going to be
telling you,
a
you
problem.
can do it right
Okay.
this second.
Okay,
You
you
could
can
go
do it.
do it right now.
You can do it at this particular
can't
point.
do.
However,
What do you mean?
Here's the problem.
Okay.
Can you get men to do it?
Yes.
Okay, you might be able to think you can get men to do it, but as soon as they do it, I want you to stick around for the average of 8 to 10 years when these men start getting divorced. See, what you're doing is you're leading
We've
men,
been
hold on
watching
for a
it for
second.
longer.
You're going to lead men into a burning building.
Oh.
And the reason why, and this is a famous quote by Martin Luther King, is because the laws of integration didn't catch up fast enough for what he wanted for people to integrate. And what happened was it took them 12 to 15 years to realize that he led men or black people into a burning building in which integration was not possible at the time.
Okay.
You are also proposing the same thing. And I would like for you to
How?
stick around to see the results of what you're proposing, because eventually you would have to pay the price. How did Martin Luther King pay the price? You would have to pay the price for the men that you misled.
So Martin Luther misled men, and that's why he was killed?
I said he misled black people. You missed that part.
Those
He said, okay, let me repeat it, because you're slow. All right, you definitely are slow, Neanderthal.
That's for sure.
Let me tell you something.
I'm dragging
Martin
knuckles
Luther
over here.
King said specifically,
Yeah.
related to black people and civil rights,
Yeah.
I'll speak slowly for you,
Yeah.
that he believed at the end, he led them into a burning building. I'm going to speak slower. The
Okay.
reason why is because the laws of integration
Yeah.
did not catch up with what he would like to present. Black people weren't ready to integrate. As a result, he said, I may have led my people, that means his people, into a burning building.
Okay.
I would like for you, under your scenario, if your movement takes off,
Yeah.
to see the results, because it took Martin Luther King 12, 15 years to see the
Okay.
results
I understand
of
now.
his efforts.
Yeah.
You're proposing something very extreme that majority of people aren't going to do. But let's just say if, because you like to hide in the clouds of make-believe, if
They did.
this works,
Right.
I would love to see you represent these men in a divorce when they get their head bit off by these so-called women that are forced by Sky Daddy to stay in these marriages.
This is really, like, I don't even understand how
You don't understand. I know you have a hard time understanding.
I do. I don't actually even understand how to respond to a lot of this because it's so incoherent. But I'm going to try anyway.
Oh yeah, see, this is
So
I
let's
see
start-
this is his always incoherent when he understands. Perhaps you don't understand.
this isn't-
that might be what it is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's okay to say you don't understand, and I can speak slowly for
I
you.
don't understand now, but I'm going to
Of
tell you
course.
why. I'm going to
Of
tell you
course,
why.
dismissive. I mean,
I'm going to tell you
it's
why.
okay.
It's-
When you're losing, just
okay.
say you're losing,
Well,
and I can speak.
Let
for
me
you
know
a
when I
little
can
bit
talk
slower.
and you gas out.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So here's
typical tactic, but you
here's-
can work that against these
Okay, so I
OnlyFans
still can't
girls.
talk.
Hey,
Go
listen,
ahead.
you can work that tactic against those OnlyFans girls that you debating 23-year-old ignorant women.
They're smarter than you.
But now
They're
you're sitting
smarter than
across
you.
from a person.
They're always
here-
smarter than you.
Yeah, you're sitting across from a person here.
Oh, no.
That's looking at a Neanderthal, say you don't understand something very
Well,
simple.
let me know when you gas out
This
so
is
I
the
can respond.
simplest thing that you can understand.
Okay.
Your go. Your go.
Are you sure? I
Please.
can actually do it this
And
time?
please, put me to sleep. Please.
Okay, so
Put me to
here's,
sleep.
Here's why it's incoherent, and there's a bunch of this I don't understand. You keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing non-state marriages. How are they going to get divorced? Well, you can only say then via common law. But again, you have no defense yourself against
These are if scenarios.
I don't-
I mean, come
I don't-
on,
I don't-
man. Please, you
I don't-
said I was going to debate somebody
This
that's going to
is-
come.
why do you
this
keep
is a if
filibustering?
scenario.
I
Give
let
me
you
a real
speak.
scenario,
I let you
please.
speak the entire time.
Give me something to speak about.
Okay,
You're giving
I'm
me
not
an if
asking you to
scenario.
speak. I'm
You're
asking
trying
you
to
to
invite
listen.
me to your church.
I'm just
I'm not going to
asking
your
you
church.
to
Please
listen.
give me a real scenario.
You have to shut up long enough for me to
Come
do
on,
it.
please. I've been here 30 minutes waiting for you to do it.
All right.
Give me a real scenario.
Okay, so what I don't understand here, again, and I'm going to ask again, in your incoherent worldview,
Okay, please.
you keep on saying that these men who I propose this to are going to get divorced. But I'm not proposing that they get married through the state. The state's the one who does the divorces. So the only thing you could say is that there's a potential for common law here. But that's something you yourself cannot guard them from by your own admission. The second problem that we have here is that I don't have to stick around for 10 or 15 years because we can look at the numbers right now in religious marriage for what this looks like. And here's what this looks like. If you're a Catholic, you're way less likely to get divorced. And if you're Orthodox, even less likely to get divorced. And it's because of that ecclesiastical structure. You're not ever going to be able to prevent all risk from divorce, not under anything.
Thank you, God. That's
not,
the best. That's the most realist thing
not
you've
under
said
any,
all day.
But not under any system
Correct.
is that going to be the case.
But
And
why
even-
are Catholics
and
getting divorced?
And you
How
don't
do
even
they get
want it to.
divorced?
They get annulments. They don't even get divorces.
Okay,
and it's
but how
a
does it
really long
So
process,
Christians,
and it's rare.
Christians have a similar divorce rate than the secular.
No.
So they have a very close. So how do they get divorced?
I'm going to
How
explain.
do Christians get divorced?
I'll answer
Please,
your question.
please tell me, because I know how to get divorced.
So
Say it
if
right
you
in the
say-
divorce court.
Yeah, I know. So because they call it a state marriage.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm proposing that they don't do that, right?
Okay, a land of make believe. If
How's that a man land of
If-
make believe? You can go fucking do it right now.
please tell me what
What are you
percent-
talking
listen,
about?
What percentage of people do this particular thing that you're doing, that you're proposing?
Why
What
would that
percent-
matter? Let's say
Why
it's
does it
one
matter?
person.
Okay,
Why would
it's-
that
okay,
matter?
it's one person. So you're taking a very small chance. You're arguing against me that has millions of people on my
Who
side.
are getting
and
divorced and
millions-
you don't want
But
them
you're
to.
telling me a small 20 people in a little house on the prairie
Yeah.
that do these, that you govern people without electricity and,
Okay.
and you riding horse and carriages.
Yeah.
You're telling me this small percentage of people are going to lead a movement of doing something you're proposing here on YouTube. This is going, how many people are doing this?
Okay. Why
How
would
many
that
peop-
matter?
It would matter because
Why?
then we can use some data to determine, do these people end up in divorce?
Well, we can
More
do it.
than likely.
This is great
Please
because
do.
we can look at the data. So
I
let's
would
look
love
at.
to, please.
Do you want to look at the Catholic data and Orthodox
No,
data
no, no,
for
no,
marriage?
no. We're talking about your ecclesiastic proposal.
That's
what
is
we're
the
talking about.
This is
Okay.
the ecclesiastical
If
proposal.
we're using Catholic and Christians, their divorce rate tends to be very
No.
close.
I'll look it up.
It's very close. Let's go
Not
ahead and look it
Catholic.
up. Hold on for a
do you want me-
second.
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay,
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay.
Self-ID.
Self-ID. No, let's just put Christians.
Christian?
He's like,
Christian and
he
Catholic?
You have
likes
to
dice up-
define- you have
he
to tell
likes
me what a
di-
Christian
He likes
is.
to dice up all of these
It's
people. And listen,
important.
listen. I would love to go to your church one day. I would
Okay.
be a wonderful guest, and I would love to thump the Bible, and I would love to say a prayer with you.
Uh-huh.
However, this conversation is entering.
Can we pull up my screen?
Very much a Sky Daddy conversation, which
All right, we got
then it's about
Who
belief.
brought up Sky Daddy? You.
It's, you brought
Yo,
you
we-
brought it up
we
about
got
the
the divorce rates
ecclesiastic
pulled up right
marriage.
here.
That's not.
You
Has,
brought that up.
What is that?
So that is a religious
if
argument.
you're an
which lowered
atheist, you
people
should
in
be
a
able to
religion.
c-
Okay, listen.
contend with
listen,
that,
A lot
dude.
of people would not want to do that. You're telling me a small percentage
Who
of people are going to
cares?
do this.
We're talking about mitigating the rates of
Okay,
divorce. It
now,
doesn't matter how many
can
do
we
it.
move forward from this one? We agree to disagree.
No, we
Can
don't
mo-
agree to disagree.
Okay,
I
so
need
you want to
counter
keep it here in your
arguments.
land of make
I want
believe.
counter
No, I'm
arguments.
not going to argue in your land of make believe.
Yeah,
in the
because you
clouds.
can't.
Because
You have no counter
it's
arguments.
ridiculous. It's
You don't have
ridiculous.
one counter argument.
Here's a counter argument.
Okay, what is it?
There's no God in marriage. How many times do I have to say that?
That's an
If you
assertion.
end
It's
up-
not an argument.
If you end up in divorce court, God doesn't matter. None of this matters. That's real. That's the realest argument that you can possibly hear. Soon as
How do you end up in a divorce court without the state?
Hold on for a second. Hold on
How?
for a second. Hold on for a second. I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
In the 1940s, which you so love, I don't know why you don't live there. You look like you live there. You're dressed like you live there.
They
Here's
wore
the problem.
hoodies and
Hold on for a
jeans in the
second.
40s,
Hold
did they?
hold on for a second. Here's the problem.
Okay.
These people, under your authoritative, godly marriage,
Yeah.
still got divorced at high rates
No, they
once
didn't.
no fault divorce showed up. It started at 25%. Then by the time you get here, it's close to 40 and 50%. It's still prevalent. I'm giving you the reality
That's
here.
not the
You're
reality.
trying to drag me back over here to the little house on the prairie. It's not working. It's not going to work with me. How about this?
How about a counter
If traditional, if
Can I get one
traditional
of
marriage,
those?
I gave you one.
What?
I mean, come on, man.
What is the
Come on,
counter
man.
argument? Come
Listen,
on, man. It's not a
listen,
counter
listen.
argument. What's the counter argument?
There's no God in marriage, and
That's
divorce
an
court,
assertion, not
there's
an
no
argument.
God in divorce court.
God's not an
I assert
argument.
that there's no
Okay,
God
well, there
in
is a
divorce
God
court.
in divorce court. Argument defeated.
Exactly.
Argument defeated.
Yeah. Oh my goodness,
It's
boy!
so
All right. Do you
silly.
need your sandbox outside? Did you miss your toys?
It's
Did
just
you not get a
ridiculous.
nap?
Like,
Here's a
I
problem.
want an argument,
This is the
dude.
absolute argument.
Okay.
You're trying to drag me to church. I'm taking you outside of church. You can't combat it because you want to battle inside the church. I'm not letting you. So let's get back to the
I
state.
don't care if secularists get married.
Let's get back to the state
What do you mean?
and that divorce rate. Did you find out the numbers?
Yeah, I pulled it up earlier, but I'll pull it up again. It's up on the screen. Can you guys see this? Catholic, 19 to 25%. Mainline Protestant, 30 to 35%. Evangelical, 26 to 33.
That's up there.
Now, pull up
That's up there.
Orthodox.
40,
Orthodox.
33, 34, 30. That's pretty high.
Orthodox divorce rate. Let's see.
17 to 20.
I see average 33%.
That's
US
US.
That's
average.
evangelical
adults.
Protestants. That's with the
It says
coalition
Orthodox
of all
adults
of them.
ever divorced 17 to 20. U.S.
Yes.
adult average 33%.
Yeah, so they're much lower.
It says in the U.S. 33%. The
They're
Orthodox ever divorced, that's worldwide.
Yeah, they're much lower rates.
Okay, but you're saying that they can't get divorced. That's what you said.
No, bro.
You said, is that what you said?
The whole point
said
here
they
is
can't
how
get
do
divorced
we
because you're
mitigate the
enforcing
risk
them.
of divorce? You can't ever completely mitigate
30%.
it. It can't ever be completely mitigated, but you can mitigate the risk of divorce.
Okay, great.
It is lower. They're
Much
saying
it's
lower,
lower.
much lower.
Okay, all right. So a chance of getting hit 30% versus 44%. This doesn't defeat the argument. Those
It does defeat
divorces,
the argument.
Those divorces happen in the court of law because no divorce cannot be
right.
reported in
So this
that's
is
not in
great.
the court of law.
Actually,
so what is the divorce
yeah.
that happens outside of the court of law? If it's 33% in the court of law with your orthodox ecclesiastic marriage, what is it outside?
Even
what is
lower.
it within that?
It's even lower.
Okay, so add that 10%.
yes.
now we're at 40%.
No, you wouldn't
Whatever.
add that. You wouldn't add 10%.
That's the legal
What are you
divorce.
talking
Hold on for a
about?
second. When you say a divorce, those are reported divorces legally. That means these people filed in the legal reported system. That's 30+%. Okay. You said there would be more that were outside of the door.
No, less.
Outside of the state.
Less.
No, hold on for a second.
Less.
There's additional
No.
outside of the marriage, outside of the state.
No.
Oh, there's none?
Well,
so you're saying there's zero.
Not really.
What are you saying?
Okay, so let me explain.
Please.
So that you understand.
Additional to the
Yeah,
33%.
but you have to, can you at least let me finish this time?
Please do it because you're
right.
slow.
So if it's the case, you're in an ecclesiastical marriage, you're still adding usually the state. These people are all adding the state, okay? The Catholics themselves, if you were to look at their annulments rate from the ecclesiastical authority, it's actually much lower than even the percentage that you're getting from the state because they add the state in, which means some people will ignore the ecclesiastical authority and get divorced anyway.
That's exactly what I've been telling you the entire
Nobody
time. And
ever
then what?
argued that.
Exactly. But so
We're
how do
arguing
you
about
mitigate? You're saying
mitigating the
mitigating
risk.
the risk. It
Mitigating
seems
the
like there's
risk.
still a risk.
No, it would mitigate the risk.
So the risk is slightly lower.
Much lower.
Okay, that's not that much lower.
It's
the
much
divorce rate
lower.
is 40%. You're talking about 33% to 43%.
No, we're not. We're talking about 20% to 35 to 40%.
Okay, so that's lower.
Yes.
Okay, that's all you got. Now, here's
That's
the
all I
problem.
need.
That's not all you need because there's still risk. How do you at this
Nobody
particular
said
point-
there wouldn't be risk.
Exactly.
You
So
can't
at this
mitigate
particular
risk
point-
for anything 100%. It's not possible.
Exactly. So now why are we telling men to get married?
Because you have to, because everything is a cost benefit analysis. Your issue's not marriage. Your issue is with mitigating
At
the risk.
this point, it's not marriage.
It's
This is the only.
mitigating-
Hold on for a second. Can I say this?
Oh my God. Can you
hold
ever
on for a
stop
second.
saying something so I
Come
can
on,
say
listen.
something?
At this particular point, listen.
Okay, I'm
You're
listening.
telling me from this point, we haven't even got to the entire marriage because you're still over in the land of make believe. We haven't even got to the other issues
What's
of marriage.
make-believe?
Hold on for a second. We still haven't got to the other issues of marriage.
I'm willing to
so
get to
you're
everything.
telling me about the mitigation risk, and we've wasted too much time on it. Can we talk about the other issues of marriage?
Well,
which are
okay.
sexless
Can
marriage.
we at least wrap this up?
Yeah,
real
let
quick?
Andrew finalize this, and then
Yeah,
we'll move on to
so
that.
the thing is like, the problem is you said it was a great institution. If you say it's a great institution, even when it was a great institution, people were still getting divorced. So if that's the case, what you're really after is just mitigating risk. And I'm giving you a perfect way to mitigate risk, right? And the fact of the matter is that it is becoming more and more popular to do it this way. Prenup plus ecclesiastical authority almost mitigates your risk entirely, except for common law, but you can pick the state to live in for that. And you, by your own logic, can't defer from common law either. You can't protect men from that. So the thing is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't agree marriage is good and the backbone for the West, and you really like it, and it's fucking great, and it's a great institution, but also don't do it because it's make-believe that you can mitigate risk, even though you can right this second. That's insane.
Listen,
All right, final
I'm
point.
listening.
final point. Let's get to the other risks that are associated with it. We got that.
That's
we
not a
tackled
final
that
point on this.
That is
Make the final point and then
listen,
go to
listen.
that.
I'm a grown man. I'm not 22-year-old OnlyFans. I'm going to say what I want to say. Listen to this. At this particular point,
You got
we're
me
moving
on that
forward.
one.
Listen, we're moving forward.
Okay, we're moving
At
forward.
this point, what are the other risks that we want to guard against? We got the divorce. You're going to put them on the ecclesiastic paperwork. Less people are doing that. Not a lot of people know how to do it. He just got married. He didn't do it. All right. I can almost guarantee.
Probably not.
Exactly.
So what?
So now, less people are going to do this. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of men are going to
So it
prepare
sounds like we
themselves to
should
do
try to
that.
change that, huh?
Exactly. So that would be
I
a
agree.
very tough
We should
scenario,
try to
and
change it.
most likely it's not going to happen moving forward.
Okay.
There are other issues in marriage
Okay, let's
that
get to 'em.
typically, if depending on what authority you go under, are still a risk for men. Yes, it's great for the backbone, but a lot of men are in sexless marriages. A lot of women are in sexless marriages. The percentage of affairs in marriages
Mm-hmm.
are still a big issue. That can't be addressed.
Oh.
Those risks are going to be tough. And now you have an issue because now whoever's your authority has to mitigate that risk. Now all of a sudden they have to govern or socially pressure the women, and that's going to be difficult to do. 20%, 30% of sexless marriages, 20-30% of people having affairs. This is not the intent of people who get married. So yes, we have the divorce. We set that aside. Now, what about within the marriage? How do you mitigate the risk for that? I'm assuming you're going to have the ecclesiastic come through the home and force the wives to fuck their husbands.
Oh, that's quite the straw man. But I'll go ahead and answer. Actually, the ecclesiastical authority does mitigate against this, and here's my proofs. Proof one. If it is the case that you get married to a woman who's a virgin, but she's a virgin because she's a Christian, hang on, let me get through the entirety of the argument before you start freaking out. If it is the case,
Virgins.
your chances of that marriage ending, very, very, very small, one. And two, they report that they have a happier sex life. This is actually the case with the decrease in body count, which generally comes with the more religious people, meaning the more that you take your religion seriously, the more that you pray, the more that you engage in that whole ecclesiastical authority thing, the less likely it is you step out of your marriage, significantly less likely. The less likely it is that you end up in a sexless marriage. You know why? Because there's a reinforcement in Christianity that men and women are not allowed to deprive each other of that, of sex, when it comes to marriage. And you find that people who follow the traditional faith generally don't. And so, yes, the ecclesiastical authority preaches that from the pulpit. Sorry, lady, you got to fuck your husband. That's part of God's law. Yeah. What do you got for him? Go out and just fuck everybody? What are you going to do to mitigate? By the way, you're at the mercy of the same criticism. You can't mitigate guys' girlfriends from fucking around on them any more than you could a person's wife. You can't mitigate them stepping out on them. You can't mitigate them treating them like shit. You can't do anything. At least I have a mitigation here. You have nothing. You have nothing. Just liberal degeneracy. Give me something you could do that would give any kind of fail-safe against this. One thing.
I don't know what communities you live in, but your church pastor is going to be very busy walking in all of these bedrooms, preventing divorce and enforcing women to sleep with their husbands. Now, the first leap of faith that you have, hold on for a second. Oh, I heard you. The first leap of faith is virgin. Okay, if we look at the stats, please pull up the stats of how many women qualify as a virgin.
On virginity.
You said virginity. I'm just letting you know. You brought it up.
In America?
Now, in America, what women percentage qualify as virgins? All right, so you're going to say very few. So you know this.
7%, age 22 to 34.
7%.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you know what?
So now we have.
Do you know what a baseline for an argument is?
That was the baseline.
Yeah.
You want to say now? Do we want to increase the body count?
Yeah,
I mean, because
yes,
if you're looking,
that was the whole point of the baseline of the argument.
So right now, if we can pull up how many women in Gen Z, because this is marital age women, would have a body count lower than 5.
No,
because
millennials
now
are also marriageably aged. What do you mean?
Okay, millennials, younger millennials. Okay, because there's no point in older people getting married. They're not procreating. All right, they're going to have 1 or 2 kids.
Older
that doesn't
people
help
do
us.
Procreate.
Not that much. All right, they're going to have 1 or 2 kids. All right, listen, it said in the Bible, in your Bible, it says be fruitful and multiply, not add. All right, we're not adding one little autistic kid. We're multiplying.
That would be multiplying.
No, it wouldn't be multiplying.
Yes,
having
it would.
one little bright ass kid.
If you have 3 and you have 1 more, that's
all right,
multiplying.
Multiplying by 1. All right, that's
so
not
multiplying.
the answer. Okay, listen. We're multiplying by multiples. You know what I'm talking about. Now, listen.
Yeah, that is a multiple.
Hold on for a second. You want to convince me that there's going to be women of low body count in this secular world we live in to make your scenario work, to enforce women to have sex with their husband from the pulpit. Yeah. Do you see? Yeah. This is very strange.
Well, I have all the data to back mine. Show me
from a very small percentage. I mean, it works in a podunk town. I don't know where you're from. We're talking about the metropolises. We're talking about major cities.
And how is your plan going to mitigate that? How is your plan going to mitigate that?
I don't know if you remember. I asked you. All right,
and I told you.
And you came back with virgins.
No.
And you came back with enforcing sex from the pulpit.
Why do you only get half the argument? That's why you can't respond to my arguments. So let's do it again. If you want to mitigate.
Force women to have lower body counts.
You're not, dude. How's it force?
Go ahead.
How's it force?
You're the one enforcing sex
how
to the husband.
How are we using force?
How are you enforcing sex to the husband from the pulpit?
Through social pressure, doofus. The same way you would with everything.
Gentlemen, your wife is going to have sex with you because a church reverend enforced her to have sex with you.
Do you think?
Okay, please pull up the chat. Yeah, his suggestion is to have a church reverend enforce you to have burning desire to have sex with your
Enforce
husband.
requires force. Enforce is a derivative of force. You can't enforce absent force. No one's saying force.
This is how your sex is going to be had in his marriage. It's through enforcement, through the religious pulpit.
No, it's going to
mean,
be
this
the
is
idea.
2025,
If it's
and we're
the
still here
idea-
somewhere on Little House on the Prairie.
If it's the idea,
I would love
that
to have
women
this reality.
If it's the idea that women have and men have both, that they're not supposed to deprive each other from this, because that is how they live the life of a Christian. The case of the matter is that they try to keep themselves sexually appealing to the partner. They try to keep themselves moving towards that state where they're found appealing. That's part of that. Why do you think? And by the way, you keep saying force. Can you demonstrate anywhere that I said that there would be any force involved with any of this, or that it's even necessary? Enforce is force.
Correct. That's what. So I was
So
correct
where
by
is
using
the force? Where?
You tell me. You're the one.
You're
that's gonna
asked the question.
Wait, you're the one that told me the church reverend is going to come enforce marriage.
No,
and sex.
when?
You said that earlier.
No. I said the
Enforcement
ecclesiastical
from the pulpit-
authority
from the
uses
pulpit.
social pressures.
Social pressure
That's
to
not
make your
force.
wife fuck your husband.
No, you're not
So
making them do anything.
Okay, to encourage them to fuck their
Yeah.
husband. Okay, this
Don't you encourage people's wives to fuck them?
I don't need to be in their bedrooms that much.
Yeah,
I can't
I mean, if
force her
somebody,
to do
if,
anything.
a, if
Listen, I
somebody
can't
called
force
you,
a woman to do
if
very
a woman
much.
called you and said, "I don't sleep with my husband. He seems angry at me," would you encourage him or her to sleep with him?
I wouldn't encourage her to do anything, especially with
You
me.
wouldn't
I don't
encourage
mess
her
with
to do
I don't mess with married women. That's their
Brilliant.
business.
So your solution
that's
is fucking nothing. Nothing.
My solution is very clear.
What is it?
You're telling me at this particular point that you're going to enforce through social pressure. Social pressure.
That's not
Hold on for a
force.
second. Social
There's no
pressure
enforcement.
social pressure enforces women to be very promiscuous at this particular point. Now, you're talking about 7% of the population or better, maybe 10, that are going to fall under this category, and this is going to lead a wave of women sleeping with their husband through social pressures, when social pressure quite tells them the opposite. Let me handle
I don't even
this.
know what the hell you're talking about at this point.
Exactly. It's very difficult. I know.
It's
very difficult for you. I know, exactly. And very nice tactic. But listen,
It's not a tactic. I'm trying my hardest to understand.
You're taking a very small scenario to make it the large scenario. When I'm telling you the larger scenario is the reality, and you're telling me
Both
if
are reality.
I do this, if I do that.
No,
this is
so
a
are
very
you.
small percentage.
You're doing the same
I'm
thing.
telling you about
if
what's
you get
happening.
married, you may get a
No, I
divorce.
said
You
when.
may, if this happens, then this may happen.
We already looked at the statistics of it likely happening.
Yeah,
so that is likely to happen.
First of all, even the
Can you
statistics
pull up
looked
the
at.
statistics again?
Yeah, pull up
The
the
marriage
statistics.
statistics, the
For the
divorces.
Christians, it's
No.
actually not likely, is
Overall
it?
in the United States. Overall in the United States.
Yeah,
So it only in order for it to work, you have to be white.
You need to break
make a
this
certain
down by
income. Hold on for a
demographics.
second. You need. Of
You want me to
course.
break it down?
So
and
so you want to go.
socioeconomics.
You want to go. In order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian.
They don't have to be white.
Make money.
No.
And then also probably live in a certain region.
If it's the
now,
case
what if that's
that-
not the case? Because in the United States, I don't know where you live, but in the caves
Then
and
we
hills
use the
of the United-
apparatuses.
If you take the rest of the United States, they're highly not that. That is outside of those demographics.
And don't
so
you wanna
what if
change
they're
that?
what if they're outside of that?
Don't
What
you
if they're
wanna-
not white
don't-
and Christian?
don't you wanna
What if
change
they're
that?
not Christian to make $100K? What do you suggest then?
Yeah, so here's what I would suggest. If it's the case that in the black community, you have more divorces than in the white community, there's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that, like, black people are just ontologically different than white people, do you? Do you just believe, like, that at their core, they're just ontologically different, or do you think that they're the same? Because if that's the case, if we're equal people and equal people groups, then there must be some other social factors which are relating to this that increase the divorce rate in the black community that doesn't exist yet in the white community. If that's the case, we would specifically target those issues to prevent that from happening, right? We're going to do this across. We're going to do this across the board. Well,
Okay, what would they be?
For the black community, there's a bunch. One, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you got a massive abortion rate, which is super problematic. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. Huge issue that you have. By the way, when it was Christian-based, it didn't happen. It was a patriarchal structure inside those black homes. And boy, they didn't put up with shit. Not the case anymore. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever disagreed with that, though. What we're trying to do is look at the mitigation of risk. And even for the black community,
We handled that already.
If the black community moves in to these conventionally traditional churches, they still will have the same ecclesiastical authority, which will assist them in governing their marriage that white people would have, and it would still assist with the mitigation of risk. What's the alternative? It's just degeneracy, right? The alternative is just like, well, just hump them and never get married. Well, what good does that do for blacks? What good does that do? It just leads to more abortion. It just leads to more degeneracy. It leads to high crime rates, and the single motherhood's out of control. So, like, what are you doing to prevent any of that? Nothing. Nothing. Tell me what? What?
Okay. Thank you. You said things that people have known for the past 45 years, but
You
I
didn't answer the
appreciate that.
question.
Hold on for a second. Thank you for contributing to a common conversation that people know, but you offer no other solution. That's great.
Even
Now,
I
here's
did.
a problem. Here's a problem with this. It's an if scenario. That would be great if we can go back to this. It would be great if we can go back and look at and say that blacks, when they were in the 40s and 50s, they had more stable relationships and marriages than even white folks. Here's the issue.
Okay.
Why stop at the 40s? Let's talk about 1863.
Okay.
Your tradition seems to always hit this point of 1940s where you shine this light of traditionalism that you've never lived in, that seems to be in a snapshot of something that you don't even know about. Then when I fast
You're not
forward
even
20
saying anything, dude.
again, you're not listening. When I fast forward to 1970, when it falls all apart with no fault divorce, based on what I've been arguing, what happens? All that traditionalism falls apart. Why don't we take it further? Why don't we take it back to bride prices? I mean, how far in tradition you're going to go? You're only going to bang your head around 1940 and 50 because you watched a couple of movies and I Love Lucy episodes? That's not tradition.
Okay.
That was a snapshot in history that you're trying to achieve again.
So
take it back further. There's
Okay.
no marriages in the
Fine.
black community.
Let's say we'll
Okay.
take it. Let's say we take it all the way back to the 1700s. Let's just say, just for the sake of it, right? And that I'm totally wrong about all this, just for the sake of argument. Let's just say, what is your prescription to deal with any of those issues when you're telling men in the black community to not get married? How is that going to assist with abortion? How's that going to assist with strong fathers in the home? How's that going to assist with the only demographic population which can't reproduce itself? How? Can you give me a single prescription to any of that?
Let me tell you something. I agree with you on this.
I just want a prescription, dude.
Here's a problem. I agree with you. And listen, if you had any ability to provide this prescription better than Louis Farrakhan or Martin Luther King,
Does that mean
or
no?
give me a second. Listen to me. These men have tried to pretty much heal this issue, and they haven't.
No, they didn't.
Andrew Wilson certainly not to. Neither will CGA. So I don't have a prescription
That's
for the black
right.
community because
That's
the
right.
black community is pretty much doomed at this particular point. They have too much degeneracy. They have single mother rates at the 70 and 80%.
black
But I'm going to tell you
bullshit.
something. You want to come in here and tell me something about ecclesiastics, and you're telling me about the reality of the black community, how to fix it. Nobody's been able to fix that community. So there's nothing you can do, and I can't offer any solution for that.
Look,
now,
is
at
it-
that particular
yeah.
point, you're saying the risk is higher. It certainly will be higher under those matriarchal conditions. So you get no argument from me there. So at that point, where's your statistics lie then?
Well,
Where's your solution then?
I'll tell you again. So I'm glad
He's going to solve the community problems here. I'd love to hear
didn't
this.
say. Listen again. I'm not saying
The black
that-
community problem
Yeah,
solved
yeah.
by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah. That says the guy who literally
I
just
would
got
love to
done
hear
saying,
this.
I
I would
have
love to hear
zero prescriptions.
Because nobody does.
Yeah,
That
well, here's
community
the
is here.
thing.
But I would love to hear
Here's
the
the
black
thing.
community solved by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bunch of things that can be done which will help mitigate these
please
issues.
do. Please
the
do.
first is
that you can accomplish.
Yeah.
Not some
that can be-
pipe dream.
That can be accomplished.
here we go.
That can be accomplished politically, and already are
Politically.
beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw abortion. You have to. It has to be outlawed. And not by state where you can just go to the next state and do another abortion, right? One of the biggest problems with promiscuity in the black community is that they use abortion as a form of birth control. Same problem that you see in the white community, by the way. It's just more prevalent in the black community. The next problem that you have there is the lack of religiosity, where there used to be a really strong core religious base of based black men. And they were patriarchal, very patriarchal. And the thing is that it's the idea of these feminist bra-burning lunatics that told black women not to be under the evil patriarchy of their men. And yet, at this point, the men are rolling over and allowing the matriarchy to take over in their own community. Is a return to traditional church ethics going to assist that? Of course it will. Of course it will. How do I know? Because it did then, just a few short years ago. I'm not talking about hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about 60 years ago. By the way, there's other things that you can do too. Getting rid of EBT, getting rid of social programs which are designed to keep people dependent. These are all things which can be politically accomplished. Just like abortion, the starting of banning that was politically accomplished in our lifetime. And the thing is like, you have no prescriptions. Fuck, at least I'm trying here, man.